everyone. Welcome to the Iconic Dollcast. My name is Sage, your host. Welcome back to another episode all about dolls. Thank you so much for listening. This week is all about doll makeovers, content creating, and doll collecting as well. And I'm going to be chatting with Giovanni, who is a hairstylist in LA and runs a really, really cool Instagram account, The Dollhouse with 2 Z's. And this was a really great discussion, so I'm super excited to get into that. Before we do, you guys, I have re-entered my American Girl era. I'm obsessed. And maybe it was just my American Girl Barbie coming. I don't know. But I mean, I've always loved American Girl. You guys know this. I talk about it all the time. But recently, I have been splurging, trying to get several, outfits from the historical collection, just from the girls that I grew up with. And you guys, American Girl is not cheap. A lot of this stuff is discontinued, and I totally just didn't even think about that. And I got a couple of pieces, and then I wanted some more, and then some more, and it took me a minute to realize how much money I was spending on that, but it's fine. You only live once. I'm obsessed with all the stuff I'm getting, and it's very cool. Their outfits are so amazing. I've been watching this really cool YouTube account. Gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't think of her name right now, but she goes through like the historical accuracy of all the costumes for the original American Girls. I think she maybe has done a few recent ones too, but it's just been really fun to watch, and it's also been fun just adding to my collection. Expensive, but very, very fun. I'm actually going out to LA in the end of November before Thanksgiving for Trish's wedding. If you guys haven't checked out my episodes with my friend Andrea, please do. Where it's always so fun having her on the show. And she's finally getting married, and I'm going to be out in LA, and on my list of things to do, honestly, at the top of my list is to go to the American Girl store. I have not been to one in probably like 2 decades at this point, so I'm very excited. They've closed all the stores in my area, so I just haven't gotten to go to one. So I'm very, very excited to do that, and I will definitely plan on purchasing some stuff there as well. I'll keep you guys updated on that. It looks like the My Scene girls are getting a new moment to shine. I'm recording this early, so I think they might even be out by the time this episode comes out, but I'm very excited for that, and excited because I do actually have an episode about My Scene dolls coming up very soon, so look out for that. It was just, a lot of the times when people talk about My Scene dolls, brats tend to overshadow the conversation, and I'm not gonna lie, it sort of happened this time as well, but the My Scene girls are iconic, so I was really excited to get to know a little bit more about them, and I talked to a great collector for that episode, so look out for that. Other than my obsession with American Girl and spending too much money, outside of that, I really have been trying to restrain myself with doll purchasing just because the holidays are coming up. And also, like I said, American Girl is an expensive era to be in, so I'm trying to cut back a little bit. And honestly, the way I've been doing that is just avoiding Target and Walmart as much as I can. I generally go to those 2 stores for everything, mostly because they have dolls there, and recently, just because I have been spending so much money on American Girl stuff, I have just been trying to go to the grocery store rather than Target and Walmart, and I honestly think it's been helping a little bit. So just trying to restrain myself a little bit. Watch after I record this, some major dolls are going to be announced, and I'm just going to be so stressed, but it's all right. But I'm trying, and that's all that matters. So let's get into the episode. Guys, today I told you I am talking with Giovanni, and Giovanni is a hairstylist in LA, and he also collects dolls, refurbishes dolls, and makes a lot of really fun doll content, especially over on Instagram. He does this really fun doll makeover Monday thing that is always so fun to see. He shares his work, and he also shares other people's work, which I think is very, very cool. And it's always nice to just have an episode that that's a little bit more broad and doesn't necessarily focus on one thing. So I think you guys are really going to like this one. As always, follow me on Instagram, Britney Spears Custom Dolls or Iconic Dollcast. Follow me on TikTok at Britney Spears Dolls. Please, if you're enjoying this show, leave me a review or 5 stars. It really helps. And here is my interview with Giovanni, all about doll makeovers, collecting, and so much more. Okay, everyone. Today I have Gio on the show, and Gio is a big Barbie collector who does tons of restorations and photography, and I'm super excited to have him on the show. Gio, thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the interview.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you. I've been following you for a while, and I think you have a lot of great content. So, before we get into Barbie and all the wonderful things you do with her, tell me a little bit about yourself and what else you do.
Well, I am a hairstylist full time. I've been doing hair for about 22 years. So I come from a line of a lot of hairstylists. My mom's a hairstylist, my sister's a hairstylist, and that kind of has connected me to Barbie for, as a child and now into my adult years. And a part time, I do volunteer work at the local LA Zoo here in Los Angeles. So I do food prep for the gorillas and the orangutans. So completely opposite of my hobby and my full time job. So that is something that I am very passionate about when it comes to volunteering. I do that, and I love animals. So aside from Barbie, that's my other area of love.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. I don't know that I've ever talked to someone who's worked at a zoo before. That's amazing.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
No, I
Yeah.
love it. So, have you collected dolls all your life? What is the first Barbie you ever remember owning?
I would say my first Barbie was probably I was like 3 years old, and my middle sister had taken me to the local grocery store, and I saw the only Barbie that was there, and it was Sun Sensational Malibu Christie. And in that time, Barbies were at the checkout stand, like the bathing suit, cheaper ones. And I remember her allowing me to get it. And I took the Barbie home and immediately went straight to the pool and started having fun with her. And I think that was like the first chapter of my Barbie love experience.
A lot of the times I talk with people on the show and it's either they were allowed to play with dolls growing up or they weren't. So I'm going to assume that that was not a super big deal in your household.
It wasn't. It did kind of go in waves. My family really just supported me to be creative and utilize Barbie as an outlet to be creative. So growing up, it wasn't like the ideal toy that they wanted for me, but they knew how much it sparked that creativity for me, and they just kind of just allowed it. So if maybe there were some moments of frown upon, they still allowed the opportunity for me to just be creative and enjoy Barbie. And it's kind of stuck to me now to this day as an adult, because my family still supports, did you see the new holiday Barbie that came out? Or, there's that connection to me and Barbie that's kind of been with me since a young child.
Oh, that's so good to hear. Yeah, I too was very allowed to play with Barbies, and you brought up the idea of creativity, and I think I owe a lot of my creativity for my my life endeavors to Barbie, because I do feel like I spent so much time playing with Barbie as a kid, at the pool, bringing her everywhere with me. And I think it really helped me develop the creative mind that I've come to grow into. And I owe a lot of it to Barbie. And so it sounds like you kind of had the same thing. And obviously, if you're doing hair, I'm sure you were just playing with her hair like crazy, which is the best part about Barbie.
Absolutely. Barbie was my muse as a child and till this day. So I'm always very thankful to her and the connection that she has brought to me in my life from my early age years of playing with her to now as an adult. So I'm very, very thankful to her. I do want to point out that my mom worked for Mattel in the early 60s, around 1962. My mom was an immigrant from Nicaragua, and she came here and got a job it was in Hawthorne, California at the time, and she responded to a advertisement for an opening, and it was for to make Barbie legs. Basically, it was like a small manufacturer that Mattel had offsite, and so she worked on the assembly line making Barbie legs. And it was approximately around the time that I think they were slowly transitioning into the bendable leg. So she did the molds, and I think they made the Barbie legs there, and then they would ship them out to wherever they would assemble the full production.
Oh,
So I
wow.
thought that was really cool.
No, that is
Yeah,
way cool. So yeah, I mean, you just always the connection with Barbie has always been there, and I love to hear that. That's awesome. So, what would you
right.
say? I mean, Barbie's gone through several changes since her start in 1959. If you had to pinpoint your favorite Barbie era, what would you say that is?
For me personally, I love the earlier years of Barbie. I love how glamorous and well represented she was of that time. But at the same time, I really love the era that I grew up with, and so I would say like the early '80s, mid '80s Barbie. So you're thinking, Loving You Barbie, Pink and Pretty, Crystal Barbie, Peaches and Cream. Those Barbies are just for me that nostalgic connection to Barbie that just really makes me like flourish as an adult collector in this day.
I love that. I'm a 90s kid, so I love 90s Barbie more than anything. And just the gimmicks, the bright colors, all that fun stuff. And I find that most people really connect with what they grew up with. And I too have a very big appreciation for the vintage early Barbie stuff. But like when it comes to just if I had to save Barbies from only one era, I would for sure just go with the 90s because I love them so much. The more hair, the better.
Yeah, and it kind of flows into that too because Barbie made like such a shift in the '80s, and so whatever the late '80s were, it went into the '90s, and it kind of married itself into the '90s, and late '90s married itself into the early 2000s. So you kind of just blend into the eras, and you just kind of like what you like, really, at the end of the day, and that's the most important thing.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, Barbie has lots of friends. Do you have a favorite friend of Barbie?
I love PJ.
Oh,
PJ was introduced in the early 70s and then kind of went into like early 80s, mid 80s. And I want to say her last production was mid 80s. So she was introduced as Barbie's cousin and then was Barbie's friend. And I'm so curious to know like who and where PJ came from. What did PJ stand for? Like any you adult, Mattel enthusiast collectors can answer that question. I would love to know.
that is such a good answer. I don't think I've PJ has been brought up at all during my time as as a doll podcaster. That was a great answer. I think I only have maybe one or two PJ dolls. She's so cute though. I have the Malibu PJ, obviously. And no,
Yes.
that's a great choice. I love that. I love Midge. I love Christy. But I think if I were to pick a favorite, it would definitely be Christy. But PJ is a good answer. Nice.
Yes.
How many Barbies do you think you own?
God, I have never dared myself to count, but I would say like over 2000. I People say like when did you start collecting? And I don't even know when I even started because as a child I played with Barbie, and then I remember that era of Barbie collectible, which I would say was kind of like the mid 90s. That's when like the catalogs came out and you could start, ordering on QVC. And so my mom really supported that, and we just would buy Barbies, and then, years went by and the accumulation just added and added. Now as an adult you're like, okay, where do I start with the number one and where do I end with the last number? So I've never really counted, but I know for sure it's over 2000 Barbies.
That's amazing. Do you have a number one Barbie?
I do not.
Mm.
I do not. I have yet crossed that path yet, but hopefully, you never know. You never know with Barbie. Options are endless and you never know when she might become available.
Yes, and I do a lot of thrifting and flea market runs just for my custom doll business. And I actually recently was able to find a number four Barbie in a random bin, and she was $10. And she's in fantastic condition. So I had to restore her a little bit. We're gonna get into restoring in just a second. She had pretty bad green ear, and I was able to get rid of that. But other than the green ear, she was in like prestige condition. I just had to wash her up and redo her hair and all that stuff. And she looks fantastic. So you never, like you said, you never know. And if anyone's on the search for a number one Barbie or number three, four, whatever, you just got to stay consistent in these thrift stores because I guarantee one day you will find one. And I mean, like I said, $10.
Well, I'm going to jump on that because first of all, congratulations.
Thank
That is
you.
amazing. And that is like you're winning the lottery ticket moment. I have been collecting, like thrift store collecting, I would say, for many years. And as a teenager in high school, we would like go to thrift stores to like, find some like special clothing items or whatever. And I always would find, Barbies now, which has become like such a hot commodity, but they were there and there were so many of them back then. And now it's like you go in there and you like really have to search and really dig, and when you find that moment, it's like it's a victory for sure.
Very cool moment for me. And like I said, she was just in some random bin, and I think I saw her like arm sticking out, and I was like, I'll just look and see what this is. And I was like, no fucking way. Like, no way. And then I had to like verify it with a couple people. I was like, which one is this? Like, I don't know. And so what's crazy is like I think it's kind of hard because transitional periods are a thing with Mattel. So she's kind of, from what I've assessed, she's between a three and a four because she smells like crayons, like real bad, like not
Yeah.
bad, but like she strongly smells of crayons. So it's a little bit undecided where she is, but she has like flocked hair, like she's flocked under her hair. So it's just very cool. And yeah, I mean the stuff you can find in thrift stores, but also you bringing up the fact that Barbie is such a hot commodity is something that I'm really talking about a lot on the show lately. And ever since the Barbie movie, I mean, Barbies are trendy now, and like I feel like before going to thrift stores, all I do there is go to like the toy sections, and like usually I'd be by myself, and I've just noticed in the last year how many people are scooping up Barbies, and it's just crazy. As someone who's collected Barbies and loved Barbie my whole life, it's just weird. I mean, not weird, maybe a little strange, but in a good way to see now everyone's kind of a little bit more accepting of Barbie. Because I'm not gonna lie, I do feel sometimes that people give me some weird looks when I'm in the thrift store and I go to the cash register with like 18 Barbies. People are like, what is he doing? And it's like, don't even worry about it. But now it's a little bit more trendy. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm glad everybody should experience Barbie even in their adulthood, and the fact that people are getting reconnected with like childhood nostalgia. Life is hard. There's a lot of adversity going on in the world, and there's a lot of opportunities in the world that could be better. And I think Barbie brightens people's day, and when it brings that connection to your childhood and makes you happy, like why not do it? And I encourage more people to connect to something that makes them feel really good. People are passionate about art or gardening or doing sculptures, and I think Barbie is an avenue of that. And it is breaking boundaries for people to be more accepting with each other, because it's not only just a female person collecting Barbie. It's like you have people of all age groups, you have people of all genders, and you're having from a younger generation to a new generation, and we're all kind of being blended together, and that's the beauty of Barbie, and I think that that's amazing.
Totally. Barbie's bringing people together in a way that I don't think I ever expected, but I'm excited about it. And it's just like, I mean, nowadays, I think a lot more adults are collecting toys in general. So, even when you're at like Target and I'm in the Barbie aisle, I see a lot of like grown-ups my age and over buying Barbies, which is not something I was seeing before. And yeah, I agree with you. It's cool. She's bringing people, all the generations together, and everyone's kind of starting to, who maybe didn't see it before, just see like how much Barbie can and toys can bring to people's lives. And I think I think that's great. It's exciting. And so the next thing I want to talk to you about is obviously we were playing with Barbies when we were a kid. And, we play hard as kids, and Barbie goes through a lot. And so you do a lot of doll makeovers. And after starting my Britney Spears custom dolls, I started learning more and more about how, oh, wow, if a Barbie is an absolute, she's irreparable is how I would look at her. It's so interesting to find out now, like actually you can pretty much fix almost anything about Barbie. Doesn't matter. She could be covered in dirt. She could be missing an arm. She could have no hair. And it's all pretty much fixable. And I'm sure that's something you know about because you do a lot of Barbie makeovers. So when did you first start getting into that?
Well, first started getting into that. I would say I was in my mid-teens and I was big on thrift shopping and garage sales, and I loved finding these Barbies that were like weathered and their hair was tangled. And Totally Hair Barbie is a good example of that. I remember finding one that looked like she like literally had been run through the mud and her hair was tangled for the gods. And I'm like, I'm gonna bring her home, and I brought her home. I did like a deep dive cleaning. I conditioned her, and got like my cat's brush, and I just after putting conditioner and just like took those mats away, and I'm like, let me try crimping her hair, and I did it on low heat, and it started crimping, no burning. I'm like, oh my god, perfect. And back then the crimpers were like these, big chompers, and it was like Barbie's hair was crimping, and I'm like, fantastic, why not? And that was kind of like the start of like the enthusiasm of creating the makeovers. And so I continued that on through my like adult life, and I would even get like my nieces and nephews to like help me wash Barbies, and we would do like a whole lineup, like it was like a family affair. And then fast forward to current day, I created Makeover Mondays on Instagram because I saw there was such a community of so many talented people like yourself who do these recreations, these celebrity dolls. And I thought it was a really positive way to encourage the community to get connected with something that was really positive. And so when I created Makeover Mondays, I thought it was a great way to allow everybody kind of like come together and showcase what talents or tricks or something they learned along the way and showcase it. And it's been pretty successful. We're going on 2 years with Makeover Mondays, and I get a lot of questions and feedbacks. And I also ask questions like, how did you do that? Like, can you share the knowledge? And it's a continuous way to keep our community connected with each other. And so I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, and it's really cool because, like you said, it's fun, and people, I love connecting with people. And I do feel like sometimes in the doll community, there's a little bit of gatekeeping, which is fine. You're going to find that in any kind of collecting atmosphere, but it's accounts like you that I appreciate so much because you do share the kind of stuff that you're doing, and it can help really anyone fix their Barbie if they want to, especially people who don't really know what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's really awesome. And just some of the stuff you do is so cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And some of the stuff that I'm doing with Barbie and using like the synthetic fibers that Barbie has. When I was first learning how to do hair and being mentored by my mom had a salon here in Los Angeles, and we had a very big Jewish community that would come in and get their hair serviced. But they also wore wigs within their culture. And so their wigs needed to be styled. And so when the wigs came in, some of the wigs were synthetic, and synthetic is different, obviously, than human hair. And so if you kind of blend that concept and then you think of Barbie, it's kind of the same thing. So you're like, how do I curl synthetic hair? Oh, okay, steaming the hair will work wonders. Now people do boil washing, which is great. There's so many different techniques that you can use. And so within my skill set as a hairstylist and being a Barbie collector, I infused all that and just kind of like married it together and just had fun with it. And trial and error too. There's so many things that worked and that didn't work. And that's the best part about playing with Barbie because I'm still playing, at 44 years old. So it's fun.
100%. I mean, people always ask me, like, has any of your Britney dolls ever gone wrong? And I'm like, absolutely. Like I have burned Britney's hair off before. I have accidentally wiped off all her makeup. I have just anything you can think of. And like you, it's a learning, it's a continuous learning process that that's why I'm not bored yet. I think people also ask me a lot like, don't you ever get bored of like doing the same things? And I'm like, absolutely not, because every time I try and make a doll, I try and do something different. Just so one that every doll is unique. I feel like if people are gonna buy something and consider it art, I don't ever want to make the same thing over and over again. And so I'm always experimenting with just different fabrics, different body types, different hair types. It's just always and learning what works and what doesn't and what fabric is going to fray and what type of hair I can really use that heat on. And it's so much fun to learn that stuff as you go.
I completely know what you mean. And it's kind of interesting. I know that you restore Britney dolls and help. I don't remember the manufacturer that made Britney, but like I've known and I've seen Britney dolls out in the wild, and I've seen some of them have like hair rot, where like the hair completely disintegrates and just like becomes dust. And so when you have that, you're like, okay, I got to learn how to reroot or, give her some kind of, hair transplant that's going to make her look like the Britney that she is. And so it's pretty interesting to come across that while you're restoring and collecting.
Oh, totally. And I mean, if you would have told me when I was like 8 or 9 years old that all my Barbies that were in just trash, that I could fix them, I wouldn't have believed you. And like, I didn't figure that out until way later on. And it's just like, oh, so many Barbies I got rid of that I wish I wouldn't have because I could have fixed them up today. And I find when a lot of people ask me what I do, I mean, I have a job and I do all this stuff, but then my hobby is obviously, collecting Barbies and making these Britney dolls. And the look on people's faces where I'm like, well, I restore Britney dolls and I make custom Britney dolls, and they're like, what does that even mean? And I'm like, oh, like the only thing I use on the Britney doll is her head. Like everything else gets totally changed, and it's like I said, if you would have told me that when I was a kid, I wouldn't have believed you. And a lot of people still are like, how is that even possible? I'm like, you would be shocked to know what you can actually do with dolls and Barbies. Like it's pretty incredible.
I agree.
I feel like with restoring Barbies, it can be really fun, but it can also be a real pain in the ass. So, what do you like? What are some issues you've run into, or what's your least favorite part of restoring Barbies?
I think my least favorite part, and I've never really mastered it, which I've not, publicly presented, is rerouting them. I love to see how people reroute them. That is like a goal for mine to accomplish that, to accomplish a successful reroute. That's one. And I'm not really too savvy on repainting. I have a person that I reach out to take care of all my repaints. Her name is Angie Repaints on Instagram. She's amazing. Angie has done a lot of my restoration on my vintage dolls. And, I give credit where credit is due. And she's not just an amazing artist, but she does phenomenal work, especially on vintage Barbies. I can't really say that I find anything that I hate because or dislike, I kind of just try to have fun when I'm doing it. Again, this is kind of like an outlet for me. It's something that I enjoy doing. I kind of put on like a aspect of like, where did this Barbie come from? Where was she bought? Was she a Christmas gift? Was she a birthday present from somebody? Or like, I kind of go into like the backstory of this Barbie when I find them out in the wild, and like, I'm curious to know like where she came from. Like, so I put on this like mental fantasy of like, where did this Barbie originate from? Was she a gift from a cousin, or was she sitting in an attic for like the last 20 years? So that's kind of like the fun part of it for me when I'm kind of restoring. So I just try to look at the positivity in it.
Yeah, I love hunting for Barbies. I mean, every Saturday that's what I do is I have a lot of thrift stores in my area. So I try to go every Saturday and I just have the most fun. Or even when like a new Barbie is coming out, like I love to go and look for them just because it's super fun for me. With rerouting, I think it's definitely like a cliche, but like practice makes perfect. And I definitely remember, I actually learned how to reroute on those like 1976 Cher dolls. Do you know about those? Like the
Yes,
Migo
yes.
ones, because obviously
Yeah.
her hair is absolute shit. If it's not like kept pristine. And that's how I learned how to reroute, and definitely took me so long. I mean, days it would take to do one reroute. And just, I mean, now I can do them in about 45 minutes to an hour, which is pretty crazy, but it's just like, because I do it so much, you just have to keep trying. But I will say that my least favorite part of what I do is rerouting because it's just so boring. Like it's just like the same thing over and over and over. And at least when I'm making the costumes, I'm cutting things out and I'm sewing things together and I'm gluing this here and putting glitter here. So it keeps me pretty busy. But when I sit down and reroute, it's just like, oh my God, let's just get this done. Let's just get this done.
That's true. I will chime in on that and say that time is probably the hard thing for me because when we have to be adults and go out to the adult world and adulting, and disconnecting from that and then, kind of getting into your hobby is making time. I think for me, that's probably my biggest challenge is making time for that. But, when you're having fun and you want to have fun, you make that time happen no matter what.
Oh, absolutely. I would definitely say I would consider the Britney dolls at least a part-time job at this point because I put a lot of time into them and I like to make sure everything is great and I mean people are buying them, so you obviously want to deliver a good product, right? And so I definitely put way more time than I earn sometimes, which is a downer, but again, it's like I'm having so much fun that I don't really think about it as a job ever.
Absolutely.
You also do a lot of doll photography, which is something that I would say that I am a little bit more weak at, only because I don't think a lot of people, I mean, most of the people listening to this show are going to understand, but in general, I don't think people understand how hard it is to get a good photograph of a Barbie because I'm so picky where it's like if even one thing is off center or one piece of hair is in the wrong spot, I mean, I have like 11,000 photos on my phone of just all the dolls and stuff because I take like 50 pictures of each doll and I use like two of them, you know? And so doll photography is really hard for me just because I freak out about just the most annoying shit. And like I'll get a doll finished and after I photograph her, I'm like, I actually hate her. I need to redo this completely just because I'm so psychotic about that. But you take really great pictures. So when did you get into that? And what the most exciting part about that? Because really, you do take really great pictures of Barbies, and it's not easy.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that compliment. I first started taking photos of Barbie again back in the 90s. I had a Polaroid camera and I kind of like created like a, photo book of the dolls that I had, and my collection was much smaller back then, and I kind of just did these like fun like little risque and like, out of scale post photos with the Polaroid camera, and then I kind of ventured on to like a little digital camera, and then as I got into Instagram, I just figured it would be fun to showcase my dolls kind of like they would be out in the world. And so when I would go to places or I was visiting, a location that, is not local or around me, it was kind of just, capturing that image that could be kind of like a fashion book of wherever Barbie was going. So that was kind of like my muse with it. And then once I've met other collectors that were in my area, we kind of collaborated during the pandemic and we would kind of go out into areas while people were not really meeting up. And, of course, we were social distancing. So we were doing photo shoots out in the wild and we're like 6 feet apart from each other, but like, how are you doing over there? I'm doing great. And it just kind of became like a fun outlet during a hard time in the world. And that kind of just allowed it to really fully take off. Plus, you're meeting so many great friends that partake into doll collecting. Learning a lot of tricks with lighting and scale is so important with Barbie. My biggest pet peeve, I don't judge anybody's photos for it, but in my own photos, is those loose hairs
Oh,
that are flyaways. And I've done some like little tricks with in my makeover Mondays or like in my private subscription on Instagram where I've, shared some different tools and techniques that you can use while photographing Barbie out in the wild and how it can, really help you to avoid losing a really good photo with not having a single strand running across Barbie's eyes. And you're like, oh my God, that's a great photo. But then there's that, that big strand that's crossing her eyes, or her hair looks like the wind is blowing. So just kind of attention to detail. And being a hairstylist, that's my job. So I always want to make sure Barbie's hair is immaculate. If that's one thing I emphasize in my photos, is that is making sure her hair is always, on point.
It drives me up the wall when I am, especially when I do outdoor photos of the Britney doll. Cause like you said, it's like, God, this picture is so great. And then, I'm editing it a little bit and I zoom in and I'm like, fuck. Like
Yeah.
there's this one tiny piece of hair and I can't edit that out because it's across her fucking face. Like
Yeah.
I have to go out and do this again. Or like, oh my God, like I just did. I don't know if you're a big Britney fan or anything, but she she has this video for this song called Don't Let Me Be the Last to Know. Do you know that one?
I don't know that song, but I do love Britney. So
Okay, great.
yes.
Well, she's on like a beach in the video, and I was like, all right, we're gonna do an outdoor photo shoot with this doll, and I was like, real on the real time crunch, and I was like, all right, I think I have about 30 minutes of daylight because I wanted to get like the sunset. Got all these fantastic photos. Was like, all right, done. Like, got it. Then went home and was like looking through them, and there's this one piece of hair just right across her face, and I had to wait until that because and then by that time I was like, well, I can't go out and do them anymore. It's dark out, and had to go out and just it's so frustrating because it is hard to get all those flyaways like down and then like you said one piece of one no one's gonna notice that, right? But I notice it. And it just drives me
Right.
up the wall. And it's just like, fuck, like, what am I supposed to do? And I just sometimes I'm like, all right, I got to take a break and come back to this at a later time because it's too much.
Well, can I share a little tip on that? So,
Yes.
what I do is I always carry like a blush brush with me when I'm photographing Barbie because Barbies have different hair textures, just like we as humans. And with the environment, her hair kind of gets all over the place. And I just get a little water bottle that I carry with me and I spray the ends of that like little blush brush and I just go over those strands and they just kind of fall right into place and there's no editing needed at all. Like she has smooth sailing hair, like she looks amazing. So you may want to try that. And your local Dollar Trees have those kinds of, brushes, or you can use ones that people use for like highlighting for their makeup. Those work great too. And it saves you so much frustration. So that could be a technique that you may try next time.
I'm gonna have to and it's mostly with the outdoor stuff, but fortunately, Brittany's hair is always usually in real life a little bit a little bit crazy. So it works out.
Crazy.
But for that specific, I mean, there's been a couple times where I'm like, God damn it, that is like a beautiful, perfect 10 out of 10 photo. People are going to eat this up. And then I'm like, but I can't post it because she's got like the tiniest little flyaway and it's pissing me off.
Yeah. I know that frustration.
It's, pros and cons of doing stuff with dolls, but overall, it's a positive experience. I would just say I'm pretty hard on myself when it comes to that stuff. And again, it's
Yeah.
not something that anyone's gonna notice, but I do, and so I'm like, I can't. I'm just I have to redo everything.
Yeah, and we are our own worst critic because we're aiming for perfection, but you never know. Maybe someone is living for that strand right across her eye. You never know.
You never know, but they
Hey,
never know because I will not post it. You know what I mean?
there you go.
What is your favorite, if you can choose one, or maybe two, because I know this is a difficult question. What's your favorite Barbie of all time that you own?
Like the one that you're gonna grab, God forbid, if the house is on fire, you're
Yeah.
running out. You're like, I'm just taking her with me. Well, I'll say I have one Barbie that is a number three Barbie brunette that my sister gave me that she got from a coworker many, many years ago. that's a special nostalgic Barbie that I really love. As far as like Barbie that I just love and always will care for would be my number two. I would probably say like my peaches and cream. I just love that Barbie. I think that Barbie brings and hits so many areas of feelings for me. So I probably she'd be running with me too. And
Yeah,
Crystal Barbie and
I know.
no,
It's
but no,
like
I would
actually,
say peaches and cream would be one that I'm safe. The whole shelf.
yeah, yeah. Like like how many can I grab? I mean, God forbid, like you said. But yeah, I guess I would probably. I haven't even really thought about this recently because normally I would probably say my totally hair Barbie. I just love her so much, or my mermaid, the jewel hair mermaid Barbies. But I guess my number four would probably be the smartest decision to run out of the house with. But who knows?
Right.
So many Barbies to choose from. It's hard to you got that quick. Usually it takes people a little bit longer because it's like shit, I don't know.
Right. Well, we've been experiencing earthquakes here in California, so I kind of been like, thinking, what if this happens? What am I doing?
You got to have a
Putting together a
plan.
plan.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you got to have a plan
that's
just in
right.
case. Uh My next question is, what are your thoughts on where Barbie is at now? I know we talked about how she's more trendy, but I'm talking about like the Barbies that you can go and buy at Target or Walmart, not sponsored today. What are your thoughts on where she's at?
I think where we are at with Barbie is the direction that Mattel is going with her, play line, let's start with. I think that they're doing a pretty fantastic job. There's so much diversity on those shelves of Barbie, and I can congratulate that. So I think Barbie kind of gets, or she is available to anybody. Recently, they just introduced, blind Barbie. That's amazing. We do appreciate that, and Barbie can kind of again be for everybody. And I applaud Mattel with the direction that they are going. I personally, if a Playline Barbie stands out to me and I like her, I'll get her. But as your collection grows, your selection kind of stops a little bit too. So I'm enjoying some of the new signature dolls that they're bringing out. I recently they just reintroduced the Silkstone Barbies, which I think were amazing. I bought them when they first came out in the early 2000s, which was such an beautiful collection, and it just continued to evolve. So I'm here for that, and I'm celebrating that. I think Mattel is doing the best that they possibly can, and continuously rewinding the tape and playing it back and giving collectors what they want. On the flip side of it, you cannot make collectors. You can't make all collectors happy. There's always going to be somebody, and if that's how they feel, that's cool. Just keep it moving. And I just try to stay positive with something that is supposed to be positive, because, there's no point in focusing on the negatives. We don't have control of Mattel's quality control. Like, everything in the world is compromised when it comes to quality nowadays. So you just kind of work with what you have and keep the ball moving.
Oh, totally. And I mean, when it comes to quality, the thing that bugs me the most about, people is how much they complain about that. But it's like the quality matches the price points, in my opinion. And that's where I'm like, yeah, but it's not that deep. This is supposed to be fun. And like,
Right.
I love the 65th anniversary fashionistas that they put out. I think they're fucking fantastic. And I, there are just so many people who want to be so negative about it, and they're like, oh, totally fraud Barbie or whatever. And I'm like, bro, or like totally cheap Barbie. And I'm like, bro, this doll was cheap. This doll was
Yeah.
$10. And like, I think where Mattel has really excelled is not with their quality necessarily, but with the playability of these dolls. You can bring that new totally hair Barbie into the pool and she's going to be just fine. They've made these dolls, and let's not forget, granted, adults are buying toys and dolls a lot more than they were maybe 10 years ago now, but these are aimed at kids. And they have made the playability of these dolls so well that I honestly can't say anything but good things about them. And like, what do you expect? It's $10. And like, Everyone likes to compare it to when they were kids or whatever. And I'm like, Barbie was not cheap when I was a kid. She was like $25, $30, you know? You can't expect the exact same quality from Totally Hair Barbie from 1992 or whatever to be the same as the one that they're putting out in 2024, because not only are they making it cheaper, but they're making it more accessible and more affordable. And the playability, I think, I mean, you can't bring a Totally Hair Barbie from, the 90s into the pool without completely wrecking her. Do you know what I mean?
That's true. And I will point out, the Barbies of the 80s, one thing I remember us and all my friends that had Barbies that we faced challenges was broken necks. Those Barbies had the worst broken neck issues. Like their necks would always crack, and that little ball joint that was holding the neck for rotation would always pop out. So you'll find Barbies nowadays with like their heads pushed down and they have like no neck, and that's because the quality back then of the plastic was bad. So, you just have to look at the positivity aspect of things. Like you said, it's not that deep, it's not that serious. And if you don't like it, just keep it moving. Find what you like.
Absolutely. And speaking of where Barbie's at recently, what is there anything you'd like to see Mattel do with Barbie in the next 10 years that maybe they haven't done yet?
Oh, God, that's such a tricky question. I'd have to really, really dive into that. For where we're at, 10 years from now, we don't know what the trends are. We don't know where the world is at. That's, I guess, kind of just go with the times. But where they're at now, I mean, I really like what they're doing, and these new Barbie signatures that are being relaunched. They recently just brought out it was a members only Silkstone's blonde swirl
Mm-hmm.
satin outfit that I would never be able to find originally because the quality of it was, either you don't find it in good condition or it's super, super expensive. And they're making those fashions that, came out back then available to us current collectors. And that's very appealing too, because we're getting good quality. It's something that, we didn't have back then, and we can have it now. And so I think when they're doing those kinds of things, it really helps, and it helps you kind of enjoy your collection. A lot of the reproductions too are a lot of fun. Going into like the photography aspect of it, the reproductions are probably my favorite doll to photograph because they photograph so well. But when you photograph the vintage ones, they kind of look like they're frozen and not happy, and like they're you can't capture the emotion, versus the reproductions are just done so well that they look amazing in photography, and the quality is there too.
Agreed. I've been buying some of the reproductions recently. Well, not like in the last 5 years since I've been really on Mattel Creations and all that stuff. And I have no complaints about any of them. I think all of them are just fantastic. They look perfect. And because with reproductions, you can go one way or the other. And I really feel like they're killing it with their reproductions. Like I love my Midge that I got. She's so cute. And like you said, the older midges are kind of hard to photograph, I imagine, because they're all hand painted. Sometimes she can look a little wonky, and we love that about Midge. We love that.
Right.
But my new Midge, like she photographs great and she looks perfect, and I love it. So I'm
Right.
totally on board with you on that. Just one more question for you, Gio. What is the most recent Barbie you purchased?
Well, I recently got that reintroduction Silkstone Barbie that was designed by Robert Best. She is the Sapphire Collection. She's the African American, super beautiful doll. The detailing in her is beautiful. I have yet to photograph her. She's my most recent, like, new released Barbie that I got. Now, secondary market, I just came across like a 1980s lot of early 1980s icons that I'm going to be restoring in the next couple of weeks, and make them available for Instagram so that they can, look pretty again, because they look pretty tore up right now.
Love it. I can't wait to see what you do with them. Well, Gio, thank you so much for doing this. Like I said, I really appreciate your work and I think you do amazing stuff. Where can everyone find you on the internet?
So I'm on Instagram at the Dollhouse. I'm also on Facebook at the Dollhouse, and I'm also on TikTok at the Dollhouse, and it's the Dollhouse with double Z at the end.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here, and we will keep in touch.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you so much, Gio, for being on the show. I had a wonderful time chatting with you, and I hope to maybe see you when I go out to LA later this month. Honestly, like anyone who's been on the show or listens to the show currently that lives in LA, wouldn't it be fun to do like a little meetup? I don't know. I will reach out to you guys because I just think that would be so much fun for us to all get together and just have a doll night. I don't know, something cool, get drinks, talk about dolls, the essentials, you know. Anyways, next week I have my friend Matt Bloyd on the show, and he's going to tell me all about the phenomenon that is Wicked. Obviously, this is a huge movie that is coming out, and it's also been a very iconic, long-lasting show on Broadway. You guys, I knew nothing about Wicked prior to my conversation with Matt, and I don't know, I was seeing all the dolls start to pop up everywhere, and everyone's getting really excited about it, so it did get me a little bit interested, just because, like I said, it's just, musical theater is not my thing, but I am aware of Wicked, I just don't know, I didn't know anything about it. The episode is a little bit different than my others. We do talk about the dolls, but spoiler alert, he pretty much tells me the basic plot to Wicked. So if you are wanting to be surprised by the movie or haven't seen the show, maybe revisit that after you have seen it. I consider Matt a friend, and so we kind of stray off a little bit. We talk about Britney and our favorite girls, a little mix as well. So that'll be coming out next week. As always, please follow me on all my socials. At this point, I'm sure you know. If you don't, look at the description, it's in there. Please, if you're enjoying the show, leave me a review or 5 stars. That would be really helpful. Also, I am getting ready to start booking my interviews for next year. So if you are interested in being on the show, we can talk about a specific doll line. We can talk about collecting in general. It's my podcast. We can talk about whatever you want. So if you are wanting to do that, please reach out. I would love to have you on the show, and I will talk with you guys next time.